Everybody panic. Nobody run. Don't you hide in the corner, Beatrice. Don't you run away, Oliver. We are building the first coaster in Mythos. Yeah! Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more. Now let the craziness begin. Again, this is not a fake alarm. This is not a fake drill. We are actually building a coaster in Mythos. Finally. And also you're in for another ramble-filled video. As soon as the video is over 15 minutes, it's a ramble video. Because I can't contain my thoughts for more than 15 minutes. But anyways, before I get into that, let's talk about what this coaster is going to be. And well, the first thing was just I wanted a flying coaster. I don't know if this is a flying coaster. It's just what I imagine with a flying coaster, where you're hanging underneath the track, and then this coaster also just you're actually feeling like you're flying because the seats go up and back so that you're horizontally, like you're laying, so that just worked really well with the idea of flying. And why the idea of flying? Because Mythos, as in the main street, is supposed to be like Parisian steampunk, which also means that compared to all of the other areas that are eventually going to be in Mythos, if my PC is able to handle it, the main street is going to be very different. Like, you have the main street and then the rest of Mythos. Like, the rest of Mythos kind of works together because it's all mythical, folktales and such. And then you have steampunk Paris in the middle. But because it's like steampunk Paris, I can do like all of the sort of technology-based rides, or at least like you have the cars rides. That doesn't work anywhere else in Mythos because, yeah, there's no mythology around cars. But like I was thinking like, oh, we can do like a cars ride where you go to like a miniature diorama and it's kind of like a kid's ride and it's just pretty. And then I wanted a coaster in the main street as well. And then it was just like, all right, what's more steampunk than just, or at least like the earlier versions of planes. Like the 1800s, no, more 1900s style planes. And so it was just immediately like, I want that. I want like a big lift hill that you can see from outside of the park, because that just looks amazing. Like as you're driving onto the parking lot of the park, to just see the coaster coming. And just, it worked really well. And then I had to figure out, all right, how am I actually going to do this? Because like the idea of like, oh yeah, a coaster based around flying and planes, it's not that special. How am I going to make this work? Because I'm not a coaster person. Well, I just did. I literally, there's no thought process behind this. And then later on I realized, oh, I didn't do any inversions. I just did a lot of barrel rolls because that just, to me, with a coaster like this, looks fun. To just have like a lot of barrel rolls. So there's like 3 of those barrel brain work with me barrel rolls. And then in the end it just ducks underground because I wanted space for an actual queue. And then I realized, oh, the space is a little bit too big, which means we're going to do some other stuff in front of the actual coaster as well. But that's not this video. But anyway, so as I said, the entire thought process behind building the actual coaster is there was none. Sometimes I literally just start building and my brain goes off, and then at the end I'm just like, this somehow works. And somehow all of the stats are in the green. I don't know how. This is just magic. This is a miracle. Because I am not a coaster person. I barely know any coasters. I'm just like, am I going to vomit on this coaster? Yes? Alright, that looks fun. Actually, I've never vomited off a coaster. I have gotten like such a headache off of a coaster that I literally had to sit still and just like sit down because I was about to fall over. Thank you, Python in the Efteling. I will never ride you again. Actually, I have since ridden that coaster again because they have actually. What is the word for it? They retracked it, I think, where like they take out the old tracks and put in new ones and like make it a smoother ride. Yeah. Also, I think they changed like the. This is again showing that I'm not a coaster person. What are like the restraints? I think they changed the restraints slightly because when I almost passed out after riding the ride, well, when that was going on, yeah, my head was just boinking in between the restraints. It was just really rough, and the entire ride, my head just went boing, 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 like a bobblehead between the restraints. And that will make you want to pass out. They have made the ride or the coaster better. It's also it's the first coaster in the Efteling. Also, again, a lot of inspiration is going to be taken from the Efteling because that's the theme park that I go to most often. So it's inevitable. So I really don't know words anymore, but it's inevitable that I'm going to take a lot of inspiration from the Efteling. Funnily enough, I think is it Phantasialand or is it Europa Park? Well, both kind of have a ride that theming wise is similar, but I didn't look at any of those two. I just realized after I finished building the coaster of like, oh yeah, I could look at those rides because like the theming is the same, or at least is kind of similar, but I didn't. I have no idea where I got the idea for this coaster. Again, this coaster just happened. I've no idea. The entire idea was just like, oh yeah, I want like a sort of mad scientist. Maybe that could actually be like the mascot of the main street is like the mad scientist, the one that I made the plushie with the top hat with a gear stuck in it for. But like I wanted kind of like a mad scientist vibe to like the entire thing where they are trying to make it a plane, but it goes horribly wrong, but you're the test subject, so you're in for a ride. I have no idea really. I mean, like the lift hill kind of works as if it's like, oh, you're just going to be dragged to a great height and then he's just going to drop you just to see if the plane works. It kind of works. You're floating. You're also... I love the drop. I want to make it so that like when you drop down, I want there to be like the wreckage of another plane. that just to me, it seems like such a cool idea that like the thing that you see when you drop down, because the coaster actually holds you up a little bit or holds you there for a bit before you actually drop, to just see like the wreckage of another plane of like the previous crew. Yeah, that to me just looks like a great thing. Anyways, now we're also doing some landscaping because we're not going to be finishing the entire coaster today. We're going to be finishing like the track and like all of the things surrounding the track, and we're going to start on the station. But we're not going to finish it. But when it comes to the track, it was literally just, I want nature. I just want a lot of pretty stuff that we're flying over. I for sometimes thought like, oh, should I put like mountains or like some sort of like cliffs that are a little bit higher. And then I realized it's going to be like about plains and such. So I want a bit more open space. There's going to be a lot of trees and bushes, but I just wanted to keep it a bit open. And also so that you can very easily see see the ride from the parking lot, which is, again, like this ride is supposed to be kind of a secondary weenie to the entrance. And that's also why I put, as you will later on see, a bit of effort into the lift hill. And when saying a bit, it was just like, I think it was a bit more inspired by Space Mountain from Disney. Or just a giant tube. A giant metal tube. I think it's more that like after I built it, I realized, oh, this kind of reminds me of Space Mountain. Again, a lot of this coaster, it just happened. Like the station itself, I blocked out like, oh, this is how I want it. This is how I need it to be. Like what shapes are going to work. With the coaster itself, it was just literally just like, let's hit things with sticks and let's see if it works. Yeah, literal caveman thoughts went into this coaster. Again, I literally don't know how this coaster works. How are all the stats in the green? Because I made a previous version of the coaster and then I didn't record it. But like, that just wasn't good. And then it was just like, oh yeah, I need to build another coaster. Or like, I need to build the coaster again because it's not working. What is the layout going to be? I don't know, we will see. And oh yeah, I need inversions. No, we're going to do 3 barrel rolls, it seems. So yeah, there was kind of an idea behind it. There was a test run of the coaster. And you also, as I just saw, because sometimes I don't know what I recorded and what I didn't record. But also, if you slowed it down, you could have seen a POV of the coaster. But it's very early on. And also, when you're seeing me placing these trees right now, you might also already see parts of the station, because this video was literally just like, we will build this, we will build this, we will build this. And Editing Poison has the arduous job of trying to make it make sense. So trying to like, oh yeah, here we're doing nature. Even though I did this like 3 days after building the coaster and I was already working full on the station. This makes more sense if I put it with the clips of the track. So yeah, and then as I said, the coaster also goes underground for a little bit. Now the only thing that I'm thinking about when it came to this part was, first of all, that tunnel is awful. Not as in it's bad, but it was just horrendous to build, because I couldn't figure out, alright, how do I make this look good in any sort of way? But also, there's water right next to it, and this, like, the tunnel is lower than the water. So if there's any kind of like storm or anything, or like rain and like the water level rises, that tunnel is going to get flooded. I would assume that like in the tunnel on the lowest parts, there's like some sort of drainage system. Maybe it gets pumped up into the fountain that's going to be on the plaza on top of it, but I don't know. But there's probably some kind of drainage system. And now we're building the lift hill, or the giant tube. So the inspiration for the lift hill, because this is where I actually did start to look for inspiration and such. The inspiration was, spoiler alert, it's going to be an Efteling ride, because that's just going to be it for Mythos. But, well, actually, it works really well with this theming, but Baron, what was the name, 1898? Or was it 1989? I can't keep names straight. Like, when I started working IRL, it took me like 3 months to remember my colleagues' names. I'm not joking. And literally when one of my colleagues left, I called her by the wrong name. So I am awful with names. So if I remember your name, it's most likely a fluke. Don't give me any credits. It's just sometimes the light in the brain is on, but 99% of it, it's off. And especially when it comes to names. But yeah, the inspiration is, I think it's Baron 1898, but I really don't know for sure, because it sounds weird when I say the name in English, even though the name was actually specifically chosen so that it was still workable in English. Because the Efteling becomes or has become a more internationally known theme park. And so they wanted a name that's like, if you aren't Dutch, would still be like, you could still understand the name. But anyways, Lift Hill, just giant bit of metal. I literally was just thinking like scaffolding and then a giant tube, because why not? And then I realized, oh, this looks like, or at least draws a little bit on like Space Mountain, which was unintentional, but it somehow came to be. And then I wanted to add something to it. So, of course, me being me, I added a giant tower. Maybe this is for like refueling the plane. Or maybe this is just because the mad scientist wants a front row seat to seeing you crash. Yeah. Anyways, onto other things while we're building this tower. I really just... This coaster is just an amalgamation of a lot of different ideas. And I kept track of 2 of them, I think. But on the other hand, as I said, like with the previous clips where I was placing the plants and such, this entire video and the video after, well, the video after this actually not, but like I've been building a lot, and I have like another of the mini videos, like the more focused videos. Also, I need to record the voiceover for that one. I've dipped back into Planet Zoo as well, so there's a lot of stuff coming. But as I said, I've been building a lot, and I really think that doing those like smaller videos, like the more focused videos, actually helped with my creativity. Because I usually have these like random ideas while I'm building something big or something small. And now because I have like the focus videos and the rambles, I can kind of just be like, oh yeah, I don't feel like building this today. I can switch over to this. Oh, and it doesn't have to be squished in with the main ramble videos. So it takes a lot of stress away from me and my brain of like, oh, I need to make a video. Because even the smaller things are able to be a video on themselves. Of course, I'm not going to make every small build into its own video. Sometimes things are a bit too small, or I've done them already. And then it's just like, yeah, that just doesn't add much. Like if I'm building like 5 stalls, maybe I will make a video out of 2 of them or something. But like, not everything is going to be a video, but it's nice to just also have these smaller builds as videos on their own. And then also to just do a different kind of voiceover is also interesting and an experience in itself. And here's the fun bit. You know that focus video, the Speedbuild mini? The voiceover of that video will take as long, if not twice as long, as the voiceover for this video. Even though that video is like 12 minutes or something, and this one is close to 50. That voiceover still took 3 hours, because my brain can't handle being focused. And that's also why it's great to still have these videos, because here my brain just goes into mush. So maybe it's actually a really good thing that I have those smaller videos as well, just so that my brain goes mush in the ramble videos, and then I can focus in the focus Speedbuild minis and be somewhat understandable. Also, right now we're starting building the, not really the station, but more like the queue. And when it comes to the queue, don't think too much about it. This queue will constantly change with the layouts. Like the basic idea of the queue is going to be the same, but like where all of the cattle pens are, like those things are going to change constantly. Like what you're going to see right now is not going to be the finished queue. because when I'm building, the queue is going to be the last thing that I make. But when I'm building, of course, I'm going to focus on like the station and such. And sometimes I realize, oh, the queue doesn't really work here with the building, so I'm going to move it a bit. Oh, the building is taking up this area, it needs to be moved again. So what you're seeing right now is just like a general idea of the queue, but it's not going to look like this in the end. Because it's just... Also, for some reason, I just don't like the long stretch between the two first cattle pens. Like, there's quite a long bit of just straight path between those two, and I'm going to figure out how to make that work, but I don't know how yet. So this is literally just like in progress. This is just like, all right, this is just going to be the general area where the queue is, and like the general ideas of like, these are going to be where the cattle pens are, and how the cattle pens are probably all going to be covered in some kind of way. Some kind of... I wanted to say pagoda. My brain really is mush right now. Although I also did have like a very intensive work week this week, so it's understandable that my brain is mush. But anyway, so when it comes to the queue, again, just don't act surprised if in like the next shot the queue looks completely different. It's a work in progress. The only thing that remains the same is the agony of the unloading station and the pods. I'm so used to like how Planet Zoo does their paths, and I know that a lot of people are just like, the paths in Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster 1 were awful, but when you build as much as me, you get so used to it that you really just know, all right, I need to just put it in a chokehold in this way, and then message brains in like this to make the path my bitch. And then when the path suddenly changes, or like the system changes, it's just like, how do I work with you? Why are you the way you are? So I've built too much with the Planet Coaster 1 and Planet Zoo pods, so now my brain is just like, I don't know how to make the pods work. So like the station, like the height difference between the station and the pod, it's just like slightly off where I can't use the techniques that I've used in Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster 1, so I was breaking my brain. Anyways, now we're actually sort of blocking out the station. So I wanted to have a dark ride aspect. I love it when coasters have that, where it's just like you're sort of immersed in like the theme and the story of the rides. So I wanted to have like a room off of the station for that. Already I had an idea of like, this is where the mad scientist is, and he does like stuff. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I have really nice ideas for that. And then of course the station itself, I wanted you to be able to enter through the main entrance, but that's like if like the park is very quiet and such, they can open that up. But I'm not going to put the path there because I like to make you walk. But yeah, that's just the thing with like coasters, like if it's, or attractions and theme parks in general, if like the park is quiet, or it's like there's a really tiny amount of people, you're not going to have to be able to, or your brain, work with me, words. But yeah, they're not going to make you walk the entire queue, or at least I hope they don't. So I just made like a grand front door, and then I closed it off because no, it's not a quiet day in Mythos for you guys. You're going to have to walk the entire queue. Why? Because I'm going to put effort into it, and you will see it. There's also a lot of things that I'm just like, are you ever going to see it? Like the entrance, like the entrance building. I have no idea if I'm going to ever actually build an interior for it, because it looks painful. Like it just looks painful to build. But here, I'm going to build everything, so you're going to see everything. You're going to walk that entire queue, and you will not complain. Otherwise, I will feed you to the demon. He likes back scratches. Also, don't ask to sit on his horns. He doesn't like that. He will eat you. Don't ya, buddy? He's wagging his forked tail at me right now. So yeah, anyways, you're going to walk the entire queue. Also, yes, the station does have this, like, building to the back of it, where there's most likely, like, basically the hold area. I don't know what it's called, just the backstage area where, like, the trains go if the park closes, or potentially if one of the, what is it called, the carts, no, the trains is like out of service, then they can just ride it over there. Just a backstage hold area for the coaster trains. Also, if the voiceover here sounds a little bit jumbled and a little bit weird, it's because I realized that I didn't speed up a clip. So, also, I earlier stated, oh yeah, this video is going to be like 44 minutes. Yeah, that was basically because editing Poison forgot to speed up one of the clips. I was just like, why is the cursor moving so slow? And so I had to pause the voiceover because I'm not going to redo this entire thing again. I'm going to have to record the focused Speedbuild mini after this, and I would like to have my voice still after. So, it's a little bit weird, but we're going to make it work. That should just be the slogan of the channel. It's a little bit weird, but we're going to make it work. Anyways, so for some reason I got really, like, after blocking out the station and doing some minor things just to get a feel for the station, I really focused on the unloading station. I don't know why I suddenly just went haywire for that. Although, I mean, it works because it really set the tone for the rest of the station, but like I went crazy here. Like it's just an unloading station. It shouldn't be this elaborate, or at least what it's ended up going to be. I really don't know why I just went crazy here. I was just like, I need to build this. I need to build this. Even though, like, the main part of the station is like the big part in the middle of the station, like the center part. But for some reason, that was just like, oh yeah, we're going to build that later. But the unloading station, though, we're going insane with that one. But all of the other bits, we'll see about those later. We're going to build this first. And also, this was annoying to build. Not as in like, oh, I couldn't figure out what I wanted to build. No, it's more as in pieces were a little bit too close to the actual station itself, so I kept trying to select the station and not the pieces, so I had to be creative with trying to group pieces so that I could click parts of it. And also just, it's a little bit too close to the pot, because for some reason, like, my voice just croaked there. What? But when it came to, like, the unloading station, I wanted to have like a ramp going up into the station. Don't know why. To me, it just kind of makes sense that there's a ramp there going into the station. But it's really close to the pot. Do I need a pot there? Yes, because I really don't want dead ends. So I wanted to figure out, like, alright, how's the pot going to work here? This is probably going to be kind of like a side path going into the Etrurian area. So it needed to work, but the only way it worked was if I put it this close to the unloading station. But now it's kind of working, but not working, because the coast gets really close to the path. So I probably have to do some fences there, because you don't want people to go over to the coaster, because that could be dangerous. Also, there's going to be a part below the drop, so there's probably going to be some netting there because people are going to lose stuff. Or they're going to throw stuff. You don't know what people are going to do, but like from the drop of the coaster, things are potentially falling from the drop onto the people below, so you need netting just so that you can keep people safe. I'm thinking a lot more realistically than I thought. And it scares me. Anyway, so the entire station, the idea was just 18th century factory. And I said like, oh yeah, this is going to be like a crazy scientist and such, but just with the entire styling of the station, it was literally just like factory. 1800s, early 1900s factory. Like industrial revolution shit. And then I had to figure out the color of the factory. So you will see the color of the building also probably changed multiple times. So like the queue changes all of the time. I think what you're seeing right now, I've already taken out part of the queue because I just can't figure out, like, again, like the queue is dependent on the building, but if the building changes, then I have to change the queue, and so I take out the queue constantly. But when it comes to the actual building itself, the color that you see right now, I think I change it later on. Because it needs to kind of work with the rest of the Mythos Main Street, but the inspiration is a lot of like English style factories, which have like it's like the red brick, which yes is already present in the Mythos Main Street, but it doesn't work as like a giant building because it just is so far apart from the colors of the rest of the Main Street. So I had to constantly just like, all right, this looks good, and then I build stuff and such, and then I look at the entire building and it's just like, no, the color doesn't work anymore. So I'm changing the colors of this building constantly. This is just temporary colors. I think by the end of the video, I have figured out like the colors of the station. And again, we're not going to be able to finish the station today because even though I messed up when it came to the clips and the video is shorter than I thought it was, it's still quite a long video. I'm not going to be able to finish it in like 20 minutes after this video. Like if this video was an hour long, it would still not be finished because as I said, I want to have like a dark ride aspect, like have one room where you're going to sort of be immersed in the story of the ride, and that takes time because I have to figure out effects and everything because I want movement. My brain is already not a coaster person, but even less so an effects person. So I'm just like, all right, how does this work? How does that work? Wait, this doesn't work how I thought it would work. Fix this, and that's just going to take a lot of time. So I wouldn't be able to finish this in one video, and we're just not going to. Like, I'm going to do a lot of things with the station already, but there's also just going to be a lot of things that are just like, yeah, that's next video. We're just starting on the station now. And I also now realize I haven't really gone off tangent that much this time. Like, I've constantly been talking about what we're building and everything. It's not in any sort of way explanatory. It's a lot of things of just like, I have no idea how I built this, but we built this. But I haven't just randomly went off topic besides like the office story of why I just don't remember names. And the coaster story where I basically almost passed out after it because I kept bobbleheading my head between the restraints. And the coaster that the lift hill is kind of based on. So there's 3 tangents, which is a rarity because usually by this point there's at least 6. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I like it, but it's happening. Anyways, back to the actual build. So this is what I said about this is the important bit of the build. The main bit, the central bit. The thing that I should have focused on instead of the unloading station. This is basically just like what I would assume is going to be the office of the scientist. Is not going to be visible. This is just going to be closed off because there's no way to make this actually visible. Like from the queue, you're not going to be able to see this. You're from the station or the coaster, you're not going to be able to see this. So it makes no sense to actually make an interior for this. There is the lower bit of this part of the building where the queue goes through, but it's not going to really work as like the office or like the house of the scientist because it just the queue just takes up so much space with the parting. So it kind of just needs to be like an entrance or like entree into the actual station. But even there, I mean, this is I think the next video, I don't know. After seeing like the clip that wasn't sped up, I have no clue anymore what's in here. Editing Poison did this last night at, I want to say like 1 a.m. But I am old now and it's 10 p.m. because I get sleepy. Is this what it means to be an adult? You just get tired faster. But Editing Poison did things, and now because of like the clip that wasn't sped up, I have no idea what's in this video and what's not. I do know that I've already started working on the dark ride aspect, and that's definitely not in this video. Also, by this time, I also built an entire other video. Because, as I said, there's space in front of the station, and I wanted to build a plaza there. But then I also realized I want to have something of like a food stall or something. That definitely didn't become a food stall, that just became an entire building on its own. And I think by this point, no, actually I didn't build it yet. I'm surprised that I contained myself. But anyway, that's also coming. I built an entire, not a restaurant, but it's also not just a food stall, I think. Like, it feels bad to call it a food stall. But at this point, I just got tired of building the coaster, so I built something else. And again, I really thought like, oh, if I start building other things, it's going to really distract me and I'm just going to lose all interest in the thing that I was building first. But right now, it's just really helping me because I just kind of all of the ideas that I get when building, I just get to build now. I don't have to just kind of just sit on it and just be like, I first need to finish this. No, I can take some time to build something else. I can't take time to trust Editing Poison though. But yeah, because I'm also building other stuff, you guys will probably get a lot more videos in the coming weeks because I am just going insane. Yeah, I thought that starting work IRL would take away from me building, but actually it's kind of beneficial. Because I get just a lot of ideas that I will sit on throughout the day, and then I will come home and I'm just like, build for me. Build. Brain, you're working right now. Also, this is that entrance that I talked about, that like, if the coaster or if the park is kind of quiet, they will open up this entrance and the entire queue will be shorter. But again, you guys are just going to walk through the entire queue. Otherwise, again, the demon is going to eat you. He sounds very happy about that. He does, again, like belly rubs and neck scratches, but he also likes eating you guys. So if you don't walk through the entire queue, he will get sad and then happy because he gets to eat people. The demon, his name is Bud. Yeah, his name is Bud. Anyways, so I put some railing onto the entrance bit just because, as I said, this could potentially be opened up if the park is quiet. And you want to kind of contain people, and the entire staircase is a little bit large. So it's just like, no, we're not going to put people just on the entire staircase. We're just going to put you in this middle bit. But then we need a new railing because you're too far away from the other railing. So we're just going to do it this way. But yeah, and the actual long queue that you are going to walk through. You're not going to go into the main entrance. Actually, you can't because there's no path there. So, fuck you. You're going to have to walk the entire entrance if you're going to go through the entire park in guest view. So you're going to have to walk the long queue. But it's basically just like an entrance to the side. It's just like you're sort of pushed in through the side door because you're a test subject. The scientist just wants to know if his plane works, and hey, you volunteered. Is there a price for like volunteering? I don't know. Maybe you are just idiots. And you're just like, oh, this looks like fun, and then you crash. Again, I really just want to build like a plane, or at least the debris of a plane crash from like a previous test subject, and then the scientist is just like, oh yeah, don't look at that. That's the previous crew. You are far better, of course. And then you plunge down. That just, to me, sounds amazing. Because this ride is not supposed to be serious. It's like the main street, and I just didn't want this ride to be very serious. I wanted it to be very just like, I mean, can you really take a mad scientist serious? But yeah, I just wanted it to be, I think you call it tongue-in-cheek, where it's just like, it's funny, the scientist is just kind of frazzled and such. I also found out that like, oh yeah, we're not doing the interior for some parts of the queue today. That's also next video. I really just don't trust editing Poison at this point. Like, for some reason, I just think that there's now also just going to be jump scare in the video. Why? Because I've watched a lot of scary videos, or at least scary games. So now I'm just like, what is editing Poison going to do? We literally have like 3 people here. It's editing Poison, and then voiceover Poison, and then building Poison. Building Poison is the only one who's doing his job. All the other 2 are just like, running around in circles. Did anyone miss the rambling videos? Because now you have that again. And after this, I'm going to lose my voice in the Speedbuild mini, because those take as much time to record as this entire video. That is not 44 minutes, but it's actually 42. Actually, might still be potentially 44 with all of the... Are there actually going to be cinematics? Because it's not really a finished build. You will see at the end of the video. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to the like button. If you want to see more, there's the subscribe button. There's also channel memberships if you want emotes and early access to videos. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye-bye.